Hi, welcome back to the For Lover Peanut Butter Dating Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 2, My First Dates with the Man the Universe Wanted Me to Marry. In my last episode, I introduced 4 suitors who I inadvertently dated in 2020, aka my accidental summer of love. If you missed it, I do recommend you go back and listen to episode 201 because this podcast will be going in a serialized direction moving forward, and it'll make a whole lot more sense if you just start from the beginning. Okay, now back to the summer of love. The first suitor I'm going to tell you about is Andrew. Andrew and I first met way back in 2012 in a divey but friendly bar in Tahoe City after Friday night co-ed Z-League softball. Yes, that's really what it's called. And yes, it's exactly as competitive as it sounds. He bought me a drink, we chatted, and then after that, he heckled me on the softball field every week, and then I crushed him at shuffleboard at the bar afterwards. It was great. Because I was only in Tahoe for 6 weeks to help my dad recover from brain surgery, I wasn't really focused on dating. I know, weird, right? I was happy to see Andrew and we ran into each other, but nothing romantic happened. After that summer, though, I ran into Andrew pretty much every single time I went back to Tahoe. It felt like the universe was just pushing us together like an overzealous yenta.
Are you trying to play matchmaker?
Years later, circa 2017, I had been doing a little day drinking with my mom and my sister at Garwood's, a lakefront restaurant whose signature beverage, the Wet Woody, is the ultimate vacation drink. It's fruity, frozen, and saturated with rum. So good. Perfect for loosening up tourists for generous tipping and consensual vacation sex. Our mom cut us off after 2, seriously saturated with rum, and drove us home. But my sister and I could not be stopped. Like the classy broads that we are, we wandered down to 7-Eleven to pick up some more booze. Because we didn't want to feel like hot garbage in the morning, though, we did grab a DiGiorno Supreme Pizza and some Pedialyte to go with our plastic bottle of Fireball. It's all about balance, right? We stepped in line, giggling at our spoils like a couple of drunk high schoolers.
I'm a fireball.
And who was in front of me in line but Andrew? Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, we recognized each other as he slowly turned around and eyed our items, amused. Planning ahead with the Pedialyte, huh? I laughed, trying to mask my mortification. Yeah. Seemed like a good idea when there wasn't anyone I knew in here. He chuckled. We exchanged some pleasantries and a somewhat flirtatious smile. And then he paid and left. The very next day, I ran into him again, but this time on good old Tinder. I practically did a spit take when Andrew's face suddenly appeared after multiple disappointing swipes left. I was pretty sure I wanted to swipe right? But I hesitated. Wouldn't he have asked me out yesterday if he wanted to? Or was this the universe acting through Tinder to give us yet another chance? Ooh. Or had I just watched too many rom-coms? Who knows? Also, side note, swiping in a small town is awkward because you know half the people on the app. It's not like swiping in LA where you're sifting through an endless sea of indiscernible men who you'll never meet, even if you do make plans with them.
Welcome to F-Boy Island.
You have to swipe thoughtfully in a small town because if you do match with someone, you're going out with them. You can't just ghost someone in a small town because you will run into them at the grocery store or the hardware store or the post office or all 3 in the same day if you're lucky. You must swipe responsibly. Keeping all of that in mind, fuck it. I swiped right. We matched! I messaged him immediately. Serious question. Did you swipe right before or after the great Fireball DiGiorno Pedialyte debacle? He replied right away. Before. Oh, I started sweating. Then he continued. But it wouldn't have changed anything. Wink. Oh, phew. Okay. I stopped sweating. Because I was leaving town the next day, we made plans to meet up in LA because he's actually originally from there and was going to visit family the next week. So we made a date to go to a comedy show. Remember, this was back in 2017, not 2020 just yet. I really like that he was close with his family and that he split his time between Tahoe and LA, just like me. Coincidence or kismet? A week later, we met for our date. The show was fun, and afterwards, Andrew insisted we stay and schmooze with the comics so he could tell them how great they were. I found it endearing that he wanted to coddle their fragile comedian egos. I can say that because I'm also a comedian. I also like that he was outgoing. I'm a people person, and I cannot date someone who's terrified at social gatherings and clings to my side like a grumpy toddler in need of a nap. No. We walked back to his house, and he kissed me goodnight. And then he gave me the look. That's not the look he gave me. It was cuter than that. I don't remember, the look. The you want to come inside so I can come inside look. Yeah, but I didn't want to. I wanted to leave. And it wasn't just because there was no door on his bathroom. What is up with that, by the way? Put a door on your bathroom, people. Come on. I checked in with my heart, my mind, my vagina. None of them wanted to stay. What the fuck was wrong with me? All signs were pointing to me getting laid. But I wasn't feeling a spark or sizzle or heat or really any of the pyromaniacal adjectives we arbitrarily assign to sexual desire. Just cool indifference coursing through my veins. Really? I am never fucking cool. Why was this happening? He was so sweet and fun, and it was fate, right? Fuck my indifference. I kissed him again for destiny's sake. Still nothing.
You're nuts!
After that, we never synced up for another date. Fast forward to 2020. I was back in Tahoe, staying with my mom for quarantine, going on daily walks through the forest in an attempt to cling to my sanity. One day, I suggested we walk down to the lake instead, and wouldn't you know it, we ran into Andrew, also out for his daily sanity stroll. He lived right down the street. Okay, universe, okay, I hear you. Within a week, it happened 2 more times. So eventually, Andrew asked me to go on an on-purpose walk together. I know, scandalous. Only I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be a date or if I wanted it to be a date.
Explain yourself.
Society was virtually crumbling, and I could feel the heat of the apocalypse just breathing down my neck, Not to mention the fear of someone outside the safety of our COVID bubble and not knowing how to behave around, I don't know, anyone. It was a weird time. But also, what the hell else was I going to do with my time? Binge Emily in Paris again and vicariously make out with hot French chef neighbor?
You are very wet.
What?
A real human wanted to hang out with me. So I went for that walk. Just the 2 of us in broad daylight, 6 feet apart, wearing masks. Talk about romantic. Our conversation was surprisingly intimate, though. We walked to the pier and sat down on the end, our legs dangling over the most beautiful lake in the world, and we just talked easily. We actually covered some pretty major topics, too, like dating in LA versus Tahoe, kids, marriage, parents we had lost, what we wanted for our futures. As it turned out, they aligned quite nicely, especially the part where we both wanted to go boating a lot. On our way back, Andrew put his arm around me, and I reflexively flinched. Not because it was creepy or anything. I just wasn't expecting that in the midst of a global pandemic with social distancing, and I panicked like a startled chihuahua.
Extremely uncool.
For a moment, I thought I had ruined it. But later, I realized Andrew wouldn't be that easy to shake. He mentioned that he was moving the next day. He would no longer live down the street from my mom, which meant that if I had been visiting just 1 week later, we would not have crossed paths again and gone on our second chance, mostly socially distant first date walk. Coincidence? I think not. Was I reading too much into it? Or was the universe in fact orchestrating all of this because Andrew and I were soulmates? Well, what about the lack of chemistry when we kissed way back in 2017? Did that matter? Was I just wrong? Or nervous? Or a straight up prude? I had no idea. It was 2020. As far as I could tell, the world was ending. It was time to take a chance. Besides, Andrew made me an offer I couldn't refuse. He invited me over to watch the sunset at his new lakefront place with beach chairs, wine, and weed. And just like that, I had a second date.